first Mesolithic site, you are now transported back 8,000 years, and we are setting up our new Mesolithic campsite. When we both arrived earlier on, this was a virgin spread of ground, just as the first people who lived at the site, Vespasian's camp, would have found a virgin piece of ground. They were equipped with a lovely spring of fresh water and probably a load of other natural resources, and they said, this is a good little place to pop ourselves down. This seemed like a good place for us to pop ourselves down. Chris was going to make work some wood, and I said, well, I'm going to have to create some flint tools. So you can see immediately that the site has started to build up. You can see where I've been working. Here is a spread of flint knapping debris beginning to form on the ground. You can see that where I am is a flint knapping area. This is where I've been working. Over there is a woodworking area, and a campsite where during the Mesolithic period would have had different areas where different people did different activities. Now, we have certain problems. The biggest problem is that by and large in the Mesolithic everything was very organic. It would have relied on wood, it would have relied on natural fibres, it would have relied on leather, various other, possibly bone. The only bit that we as archaeologists tend to find, apart from fragments of bone, are the flint. He has no evidence. There is no evidence of him on the site at all. Why? Because he uses a very rotten raw material. It rots away. And yet he is actually, there's the evidence. Try and find those chips on a modern archaeological site. Nothing survives to show that there is any woodworking. And yet without his skills, the flint is pretty much worthless. So what have we got in the toolkit from the Mesolithic? Here we have one of the first woodworking tools that are ever devised in the British Isles or anywhere in the world. It's a hafted axe. It's what we call a tranchée axe, and by and large this is the type of axe that would have probably been familiar to people who lived at Amesbury all those years ago. As far as I'm aware, you haven't found any tranchée axes, but it doesn't matter. This is the sort of axe that they would have been familiar with, and which they would have probably taken away with them when they moved on from one campsite. This is not likely to have been a permanent place. This is a community of people that are living in the Avon Valley, moving up, making the most of natural ingredients and natural resources when they find them, moving on elsewhere at different seasonal times, maybe coming back to have a communal get-together, eat the odd aurochs as you do. It's a good excuse for a party, isn't it, really, if you've got an aurochs. You know, you've got to do it.
And wood sources as well. You know,
exactly, exactly. The main thing is those people would have known their environment like the back of their hand. They would have known instinctively where to get good water, where to get good animals, where to get good wood, where to get the fruit and berries. They would have known that like the back of their hand, and they would have moved around exploiting those different bits of their environment, possibly with a series of base camps that they could have exploited. Now, I'm very possessive about my woodworking tools. Very seldom I let a craftsman use my axe, but Chris is going to demonstrate to you what you can do with a piece of flint.
Okay, so given how precious this piece of flint is, I'm going to be extremely tentative. But I'm going to use it in exactly the same way I would use it. Sorry, I've got a few wood knives taking a bit of a hitch there. But I'm going to use it exactly the same as I would with my modern axe. But I don't swing like a wood chopper. I use this as a tool for making feather cuts, which I can then follow down. And if you can quite see there, but I've got a fat piece down the bottom that I have in the middle. So let's take a few tentative swings and see where I'm at. Okay. Okay, so the idea of making these diagonal cuts is to split the fibres, so that when I then take a cut down here, I can basically quite getting in there. But you can see how the split runs onto those cuts. And for me as a green woodworker with a metal axe, that is, I'm working to be as efficient as possible so I can make things quickly. That's more relevant here because you've got scarcity of food, you need to be as efficient as you can with your tools, and also they can break, so you've got to be very, very careful. But the idea is...
But please don't think